Is now a good time to buy gold and silver? That's a question I've been asked more times than hot dinners. And if I had a pound for every time I've been asked it, I'd have probably about £1,000. But the point is that now is a good time to buy gold and silver. It's also a bad time to buy gold and silver because the prices are high, but it's also a great time to buy gold and silver because you need to have some of this stuff, in my opinion, to keep your wealth stable over what will probably be a pretty crazy year ahead. Now, I'm not here to give financial advice, but what I do best is talk about precious metals in a bit more of a down-to-earth, critical thinking and questioning kind of way. So sit back, relax, as we talk about whether or not gold and silver are worth buying right now, and whether or not I'm going to be buying lots of gold and silver in 2025. Hello everybody, Backyard Bullion here, and a very warm welcome to you all joining me for another Precious Metal Ramble where we have a down-to-earth discussion about all things precious and shiny. One of the most commonly asked questions, in fact over the entire tenure of me making videos on YouTube, has been, is now a good time to buy gold and silver? Whether it's somebody buying for the first time or even seasoned stackers asking themselves and trying to justify to themselves whether or not they should put a lot of money or even a little bit of money into gold and silver. And it's a question I continually ask myself as well, whether or not I want to add more gold and silver to my stack. And the answer, I'm afraid, is not simple, but it kind of is as well at the same time, because in my opinion, not in a financial advice kind of way, it's always good to own some gold and silver. And if you're looking at buying into this kind of stuff, it's meant to be a long-term bet. You're not here to make a little bit of money on a short-term market for gold and silver. What we can do though, is we can have a look at some of the reasons why I think gold and silver are actually really quite good to have a little bit of, not to go all in. I am not a fearmonger. I'm certainly not one of these doom and gloom channels that says you have to buy because the world is about to collapse. But at the same time, we've seen a crazy, crazy roller coaster of world geopolitical, bigger, just everything in the world going wrong over the last 5-6 years. And that's only going to continue. So we'll have a bit of a fun discussion about all of these things with a look ahead to 2025. And we can only look back as well to find out what is kind of most likely to happen going forward. It's not guaranteed though. Now it's worth reminding you all, I'm not a financial advisor, all of that, disclaimer in the description, you've got it, you know it. I think a lot of people who watch my channel know that, but just be aware that there are plenty of people out there who will be quite happy to convince you one way or the other. And if you're of a particular mindset, you will go down that rabbit hole. And that's one thing that I've always not really liked about YouTube. That's why we have a bit of a contrarian approach to other commentators out there on the world of gold and silver. It's a good thing to have, but it is a liability. It is something that you have to take seriously. It's something that you have to really get to grips with before getting in, because getting out can be hard and can have a bit of a hard effect on a lot of people. And we'll touch a little bit more on the exiting of gold and silver and helping people sell as part of our bullion buying and selling service, the Backyard Bullion Buyers Club, later in this video. But for right now, I want to share my own trials and tribulations on this subject, because I do ask myself whether or not now is a good time to buy more gold and silver almost on a weekly basis. My opinion can sometimes change. Of course, one of the big drivers of the reasoning behind whether it's a good time to buy or not is the price. And you cannot ignore the fact that gold is at close to all-time highs. Not quite all-time highs right now, but close to all-time highs. And silver is lagging behind. And you must kind of think in your mind, and I know I do sometimes, that silver maybe is the better bet. But there are lots of counter-arguments about whether or not silver is worth getting into on a larger scale. It's cumbersome. It's not really that great in terms of liquidity here in the UK anyway. The US is a little easier and a little better. There are plenty of different types of silver to invest in. What do you buy? Do you buy capital gains exempt stuff? Hint, the answer is yes, if you're in the UK. As much as I hate the Royal Mint for everything that they've changed in their complete unethical and morally bankrupt business practices, unfortunately, their coinage is capital gains exempt. So if you buy their Britannias and you buy their other bits that are coins like sovereigns and such, then you will have an advantage over other stackers and investors. But it's a balance, because silver, certainly in its fractional form, is often what I would say tantamount to a rip-off. You're paying £8-9 for a quarter ounce of silver when you could just pay for a single ounce of silver. And the argument here is that people think that one day silver is going to be so expensive that the quarter ounce weight of a silver coin is going to be the new kind of affordable norm. But silver is not an expensive metal. It will never be a super expensive metal. Gold is an expensive metal right now. It feels like it anyway. But this is my counter argument, because I do think gold is generally better than silver. Gold, whilst expensive, yes, it's a more surefire means of protecting wealth over a long period of time. It's less volatile. It's much more liquid. In the UK, you don't have sales tax on those bits of gold. So if you are buying gold, it's a lot easier to make money on it. Now, this is not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's not something that you can rely on making money. And in fact, you would very strongly argue that having money in an S&P 500 account or various different investments spread across different markets, you will end up with probably a better return than just sticking money in gold. But at the same time, it's nice to have that little insurance policy, and that's what I think gold is best for. So I don't advocate going all in on anything, and I certainly don't advocate going all in on gold. But at the same time, it does represent a really quite lucrative way to protect your money and wealth over time. Certainly in times of craziness, which, if we're going to look back over the last couple of years to work out what might be coming down the line in 2025, we can only sit here and think that 2025 is going to be a pretty batshit crazy year, excuse my French. But there are a lot of big things in this world that are going to potentially continue to rear their ugly head. I don't think we've seen the last of inflation. We saw some information come out before Christmas around potential rate cuts in 2025, and whilst there inevitably will be some rate cuts at some point, there is concern within the wider, bigger financial communities, especially government financial communities, about inflation. And so keeping those interest rates high will unfortunately counter that problem, but it means that borrowing is more expensive for people and generally everything goes up in price, hence the inflation. But inflation is what everyone wants, remember. Well, I say everyone, it's what the bankers want, it's what the governments want, because it means that their debt, which is massive, of course, is going to be cheaper to finance and cheaper to pay back over time. I say cheaper to finance, that's not what I meant. I meant cheaper to pay back over time. It'll technically be more expensive, but if you're borrowing £1,000 now and then in 5 years' time that £1,000 is worth half what it was, then everybody's going to be quite happy that they're only paying back £1,000, because otherwise you would have to pay back £2,000, etc., etc. You get my point. So it really is an interesting time, and I think we're still feeling the fallout from COVID, and we're still feeling the fallout from all of the crazy geopolitical situations, the wars that are going on. Whether or not we'll see Donald Trump come in and fix the world, I don't think we can rely on something like that. This is not an anti-Donald Trump sentiment and video. In many ways, there's a lot of really good positive things that could come out from the Donald Trump presidency. It's just going to be a wait and see kind of year, really. I personally am not drastically worried about the world collapsing anytime soon, so I don't buy my silver and gold for those particular reasons. But what I do think is likely is that we'll see a slow tick up in the average price of gold. There'll be lows, there'll be lulls, there'll be ups and downs, and the same will be said for silver. What I think will be more likely to happen is at some point we're going to see a shift and a swing in the gold to silver ratio. I think we're going to see silver have a better year than gold. It's already trading at significantly lower ratios than it could or should be, arguably, and I do think that those changes will come in at some point. It's just a natural progression. Silver always lags behind a lot of the other metrics out there. So without giving financial advice and predicting certain price points, I do think we're going to see a slight increase in silver, but that comes along with its own kind of problems for a number of reasons. One of the things that I've always used silver as, in terms of things like these coins here, so the big 10-ounce slabs of the beauty days of the Royal Mint when they weren't morally bankrupt, was that it was gold in waiting. So for me, what I want to see is I want silver's price and the ratio to come to a point where I'd be content and happy to go and buy more gold. So my personal buying strategy for 2025 is going to be converting bits of silver into gold. Last year I converted quite a lot of large denomination gold coins into smaller denomination gold coins, and I still do believe that the price point of gold makes it pretty prohibitive to own 1 ounce gold coins, because you're going to have to find £2,000 plus right now. If gold continues to rise, £2,500 I think is likely at this point in this year. That's a lot of money, and then it's insurance related stuff. A sovereign, £500 to £600 possibly this year. I can see that being much more attractive to people. And so for me, I don't really want to go and look to buy gold at all-time highs. I want to convert the money that I've got in silver, which has premium to it. So a lot of the stuff that I've got from legacy coin collections and legacy stacks, I should say, more than coin collections, from my glory days of 2017, 18, 19, when I was buying a lot of silver. I want to convert that into gold. I want that to be a lot more liquid for the future, just for ease. You know, I'm not old by any stretch. I'm firmly set in my middle age, but you know, you get to a point in life and certain birthdays come along and you go, crikey, I'm old now. And, you know, you think about the long term and your own mortality. And I do, you know, think about what would happen if I just killed over tomorrow, or if I got hit by a bus. How would Mrs. Backyard Bullion cope with a very large array of small, tiny silver coins? And it would be much more difficult for her. So having just a giant treasure chest full of sovereigns might be a lot easier for her to take down to a bullion dealer in one of those emergency situations. And likewise, if there was a situation, because we don't know what's going to happen coming down the line in 2025, there's a lot of fear mongering about what might happen. I'm not too worried about a lot of that. And some of the really extreme fear mongered stuff, I think, is just, well, you know, if the world ends, I think I'm probably going to be in the first wave of people who don't really make it. So that's absolutely fine with me. It's a bit of a defeatist attitude. And I know a lot of my brethren across the pond in the great US of A would be sitting there going, you need to man up and get a bunker full of lead and silver. But that's not really quite how we work here in the UK, I'm afraid. Best we could probably hope for is a crossbow and a can of baked beans. But that is what it is, and I'm not too worried about those scenarios. What I worry more about is, at some point, the way the world works, it's money and it's fiat currency, and that fiat currency will be used to do something in life, whether it's to buy a home or to pay for care or medical bills or whatever it might be. And that's something that does worry me somewhat in the future, and keeping money aside for those emergencies is super important for anyone, and for us in the Backyard Bullion household even more so. So, in 2025, I do think there will be some price points that will be quite attractive for people to both buy and sell. And what I want to say for the second part of the video, we're 12 minutes in, so the sort of closing part of the video. Last year at this time of year, we had a kind of hiatus on the Backyard Bullion Buyers Club, and it was lovely to have a bit of a break. But what we also did was we had a bit of a break from our silver pouring, and the next project that I've got that I'm releasing for the poured silver side of things, so you'll see I've got one bit of poured silver out here, is going to be in May and June with our 1 ounce silver forum bars. So we've got time and we've got capacity, which is lovely. And I've managed to structure my year so far in the back end of 2024 to give myself some little bit more downtime in the first part of this year, which is wonderful. So a few things I'm going to be keeping ticking over with the Backyard Bullion Buyers Club. So if you are looking to sell because the price is right for you to sell right now, or because perhaps you have to, then you're faced with often quite difficult circumstances right now, for certainly silver, of getting a good price. You can go to a dealer, but you'll get a pretty low price, quite frankly, right now. Or you can try and sell it yourself on various different silver forums or the markets or Facebook or wherever it is, Bookie, Quackface, whatever it is, X and YZ, social medias, I don't know. But it's hard, and people don't often buy from people they don't know, and that's what the Bullion Buyers Club has always been about, linking buyers and sellers. We get you a better price than if you sold to a dealer, and then the buyers get a better price than if they were buying from a dealer. So that's what it is in a nutshell. If you want to sell and get a little bit more in your pocket, then we're here to help. And I'm not doing it to make money. I charge for the service. It's £1.25 per ounce of silver, and it's £35 per ounce of gold. And we will explain all that to you, how it works and everything. And then it's really very simple. And we've done I think it's like £1.5 million worth, nearly $2 million worth over the last 2 years. So it's a tried and tested system, and it works. So if you're interested, then let me know. And if you want to sign up to buy, because buying is really good right now. There will be places on times to buy at the price points that will be good for people. Then there's a link in the description box below to our newsletter where you can sign up, and then that's where we'll be sharing a lot of the pieces for sale as and when they come in. But what I will say is, from my past experience over this last year, don't expect there to be stuff every week. Don't expect there to be stuff every couple of days, because I think those glory days of the early 2000, when was it I started this? 2022. Yeah, we've been doing 2 years now. 2023. We did it 2 full years, 23, 24. So 2023 was like the craziest year ever for this kind of thing. We did nearly $1 million worth, £800,000 worth, I think it was, in the first year alone, which was mental. And so, it's been pretty crazy, but that has drowned out a little bit. So it's much more manageable. But we need sellers for people to buy, and that's a service if you want to take advantage of it. So yeah, otherwise, I'm feeling really good about 2025. I think it's going to be an interesting year ahead. I think that for me, my own personal stack, will see a fair amount of change. I'll keep you guys posted on stack changes as we go. It'll be interesting to see how that evolves and where the price points are. And like with the big sovereign swap, there might be a big silver swap at some point. And when that happens, I'll do some videos on that and share with that. It's going to be a busy year. It certainly is. So yeah, let's see how it goes. Thank you all for watching, especially to all you Cool Kids Club members. And I've just realised we don't have anything out on the table that has a serial number to give you all the opportunity to be super extra special cool. So I'm going to pick a random sovereign. I'm not even looking. Here we go, random sovereign. This one. Oh, okay, right, well, it's one of these ones. If you're super cool, then you need to quote in the comments 2023. That was kind of the last year before the real crazy prices hit, wasn't it? So yes, if you're cool, then you know what to do. Cool Kids Club, quote 2023 in the comments. And if you don't like me touching gold sovereigns and getting fingerprints over good old crowned King Charles, then tough. Well, I was going to say tough shit, but that's, I mean, well, I've said it now, haven't I? Tough shit. Touching your gold is fine. Sovereigns, whatever. They're just the bog standard run-of-the-mill coinage. There we go. Have a fantastic New Year's if you have watched this on New Year's Eve. Don't know how many people still watch it on New Year's Eve, but have a great year ahead as well, and we'll see you on the next video. Thanks always, and as always, please make sure that you like, share, comment, and subscribe for more.